My passion for this business is a combination of my ancestral history and then my love for wine. I was born here and hope to be buried here. My name is Tim Puchta, and I make wine. I'm a sixth-generation winemaker. Adam is my great-great-grandfather. He was the founding father of the winery. Prohibition was very, very devastating to our family. The winery was our main source of income. Feds came in, they chopped down your vineyards, rolled up your wire, destroyed your vineyards so that you couldn't produce, came into your facilities, chopped your barrels, your product was run on the ground. It had a huge impact on the future of my family. My family lost everything. It left my ancestors very bitter. Much of the history from our family was written by my great-great-grandmother and my great-grandmother. And they wrote 1 to 5 sentences a day in diaries. Once Prohibition shut the winery down in 1919, the land lay dormant as a commercial winery operation, but was changed into a farming operation. It's our love for history that drove us to reopen the winery. Wine is very subjective. It can be anything to anybody, and making that perfect glass of wine is sometimes very, very difficult, especially with all the variables you have just from weather alone. These are all hybrid grapes that have been crossed for many, many years to produce disease resistance, cold hardiness, issues here in Missouri that you don't have in the great growing regions of France and Italy and California. What we're looking for is balance. Most of the balance starts in the vineyard. Whether it's a dry wine, whether it's a sweet wine, doesn't really matter. We try to make the wine as balanced and as good as it possibly can be. Sometimes the grape dictates what you do with the wine. We can make good wine out of good grapes, or we can make bad wine out of good grapes. But you can never make good balanced wine out of bad grapes. We try to bring in the best possible grapes to start the product off with as we can. Once we crush the grapes, we press the grapes, we ferment the grapes, then we go back and we start to look at what that wine wants to do. We are currently the oldest winery in the United States that is still owned and operated by the original founding family. Prior to my family coming to the United States from Oberkatzau, Bavaria, they had been Bavarian winemakers and had been making wine since 1545. It's probably because it's in my blood that keeps me going. It's not something that you can just quit. I'm fortunate. I just really fell in love with the process of making wine. When you look at a grape plant in its dormant phase, there's a bud on a spur coming off the side of the vine. That bud has all the plant material for every grape cluster and every leaf that's going to be produced the following year. All in this little tiny bud. We probably use about 9 or 10 different varieties of grapes to produce the wines at Adam Puchta. We take pride in producing small batch, locally grown things that we know are really, really good. They're not mass produced into hundreds of thousands of gallons. We try to make the best quality wine that we can. Having my sons in the business means a lot. It's what my dad and I started. This was for them. It was about carrying on for future generations. When Dad was around, he said, "Tim, you'll never be around to reap the benefits of what you've done, but your kids will, and your grandkids will." You know, I always kind of likened that to making a good port wine, because there are some 40-year-old Tawny ports. It's not something where you have immediate gratification for what you do. So much of what you do depends on years and years of developing your vineyards, developing your barrels, making the product, aging the product, getting the chemistry just right. Sometimes you may not live long enough to see that product. When I go up on top of the vineyard, which I do a lot, grab a bottle of Norton or a bottle of Rosé, I looked out on the hillside and life is good. I think my ancestors would be proud. What happens in the future remains to be seen. Hopefully, it'll continue for hundreds of years, but who knows?